Hi everyone, my name is Paula and welcome to the monthly astrology snapshot where I'm going to go through the major themes for this lunar month, which will begin at the new moon in Virgo coming up on the 14th or the 15th of September, depending where you are in the world. But before I go into the major themes of the new moon and the full moon, I want to talk about this incredible dynamic playing out in the sky where all of the outer planets, all of the transpersonal planets, which these are the planets that impact, in a way you could say, more of the context of our lives, the collective cycles, the social trends and patterns that we're all moving through. All of those planets are now retrograde, and they will be until Pluto turns direct just before the new moon solar eclipse in Libra coming up next month. Thanks for that, universe. That's going to be really significant, but we'll look at that at the next lunar month and the next snapshot. But the outer planets all being retrograde, which means that they're going through this process of reorganizing those bigger collective stories. The world we move through is going through a huge transformative process. You can feel it, it's undeniable. And the outer planets, for those of you that are into astrology, are Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And they're doing this restructuring of the world we live in, a shaking up of any stuck old unquestioned traditions, hierarchical structures, and all of these power structures and the institutions that no longer reflect who we are as a species. And with all the outer planets being retrograde, and it's so interesting, they're bunched like together on the same part of the sky relative to Earth, and they're retrograde. And what's this dynamic that I wanted to point out is that once Mercury turns direct, which will happen within hours just after the new moon in Virgo coming up, all of the inner planets, which is Venus, Mars, and Mercury, will be direct. And they're sitting on the opposite side of the sky. So when I was doing the research, I noticed this pattern and I just went, wow. And the feeling I got when I was looking at that, and I work with astrology intuitively, not as an exact science, like these planets influencing us. I see it as patterns, like a celestial roadmap that's somehow all woven together, and we can get a sense of the cycles we're in through looking at the sky. Our ancestors have done it for thousands of years. In fact, astrology is the oldest living tradition. Humans love it. We just love it. But when I was looking at it visually, as I was researching and seeing this dynamic of outer planets sitting in an opposite pattern from Earth to the inner, all inner planets now moving forward. So the inner planets, they're closest to us, they're closest to Earth and closest to the sun. And we feel them on an everyday level, which is why when the Venus retrograde and the Mercury retrograde and when Mars is retrograde, you'll notice astrologers really talk about it, because that's going to be something you can notice on some level. And of course, there's your personal chart, and where is it in your chart, which, I cover that in my horoscopes and my Patreon, where you can start to look at the areas that they're specifically working through in your life. But, this is where we will feel it. This Venus retrograde cycle that we just went through in Leo really was taking us back to a cycle from 8 years ago, and potentially bringing people back into your life or helping you go back and reflect and remember certain relationship dynamics, but with the purpose of healing something from the past, not just to rehash what's happened, and to hopefully help you go up that spiral of evolution. Venus has this stunning, divine, gorgeous 8-year cycle that plays out. And the Mercury retrograde, which Mercury is still retrograde as I'm filming this, but like I said, Mercury will turn direct in Virgo, and Mercury is the ruling planet of Virgo. We have gone through this process of thinking more clearly about what we're saying and how we're communicating. And with Venus retrograde in Leo, we're being invited back to something that's true in our heart. You may have found that you're remembering, what does it mean to actually love? What do I really want from my life that brings me joy? Where is it that I am this radiant divine being with my heart? Leo rules the heart, Venus rules over love. So there's been this opening, and now Mercury was retrograde and Mars was there as well, and it was sitting opposite Saturn last lunar month, with this intensification of getting clear, thinking clearly, and communicating clearly. But now, as Mercury goes direct at the new moon in Virgo, this new moon is inviting you to connect the dots, to based on the wisdom that you've realized through these retrograde cycles, to actually apply that wisdom now, connect the dots. And at this new moon in Virgo, just as Mercury is direct, all those inner planets are direct, now you can get some traction. Like I said, we had Mars in Virgo. It's not now, but when it was intensifying this focus. Now you can communicate. Now you can get clear. And all inner personal planets moving direct. This could give you a sense, which will be magnified at this new moon, of being able to have some agency over your everyday reality. We have lived through this huge, huge process. Pluto has been chipping away at Capricorn. We've had cycles that, as we've mentioned so often, kicked off in March of 2020, where it was this intensification, this deep underworld initiation for all of us. So Pluto's, remember, that's collective, transpersonal, into looking at the underworld of our power structures, of our hierarchical structures that no longer reflect who we are as a species. And now at this moment, this juncture, where these planets are moving direct, new moon in Virgo, you get to actually start to go, okay, I do have some agency over my everyday, immediate reality. How do I communicate? How do I love? How do I treat the people around me? And really seeding in at this new moon some strong intentions. Because as I shared, this incredible dynamic of all the outer planets, the collective transpersonal patterns, retrograde, it may feel like the external world. It may feel like it's moving in an opposite direction to your inner world this lunar month. So if you're feeling that way, just know that this cycle's at play. And maybe you could shift your view on this pattern and actually rethink it. Come at it from another angle and see that while all the outer planets are doing this bigger unraveling, and it's an unraveling, as I said, of our power structures, of our old beliefs, of the lies, of the distortions, of the way we are with our earth. There's energy in Taurus, Pisces, and Capricorn. Capricorn is governance, power structures. Taurus is the earth, finances. Uranus, Jupiter retrograde in Taurus. Man, this has been this disruption to our economic structures, our wealth stories, finances, these reversals and unexpected twists and turns in wealth, in money, and it is happening on every level. And then Saturn retrograde in Pisces, which is all about the lies and the stories and deception. This huge process that we're going through. The collective is diving deeper into this for this lunar month. As I said, all of these planets are retrograde. Sorry, Neptune is also retrograde in Pisces. Again, really dispelling the myths, the stories, the things that we've inherited from previous generations. Pluto retrograde back in Capricorn, breaking down the traditions that no longer reflect who we are, who we're becoming, and who we need to be to move forwards right now. So as that bigger cycle's still in motion and it's still heavy and intense, you can let that play out, but not lose faith in your personal story. If you care about this world and you care about our species, the best thing you can do is work on yourself. And with these inner planets moving direct and the deep dive we've just been through with Mercury being more precise in Virgo with communication, thinking, what information are you connecting with? What do you really mean? Are you saying what you really feel? Are you saying what's true to your heart? Venus in Leo. Have you up leveled your relationship stories from 2015 when Venus was last retrograde in Leo? Have you evolved at a personal level? And if you want to truly feel that you have that agency over your personal world, then please know that that ripples into the collective story. It's not separate. As you heal, so does the world. This isn't a spiritual new age concept. It is a logical thought process. If you're miserable and you have bought into the fear and you've given up, and I know that that is in some ways at this time, in some moments, it's hard not to feel like giving up. But if you do give up, then it is a self-fulfilling prophecy. We will co-create the worst case scenarios. The fate of the human race is not set in stone and we just get dragged along kicking and screaming. That isn't what's happening. With this lunar month, the way it's set up, it's just so fascinating to see it. You have an opportunity to let the world do whatever it's doing. Let these bigger cycles play out. Let it feel weird because it needs to change. We're living in this pattern of endless profit, endless expansion, endless growth on a finite planet. Uranus and Jupiter retrograde in Taurus is saying, you've got to rethink this. This is an unsustainable approach to reality. It is actually insane. And so we need this to break down, but that doesn't mean you have to crumble and fall apart and buy into the fear and the apocalyptic notions, which is really just people trying to feel in control of their worst fears. The best thing you can do is truly, truly feel that agency at this time. Take care of your world. Take care of your psychology, of your heart, of your relationships, of your communication. Control the things that you can control right now. This lunar month is saying, pull back, let the bigger story move. And if it feels like it's in a completely opposing pattern to your own reality, trust in these cycles. Listen to astrologers. Feel into these patterns and know that it will shift. And yes, next lunar month is eclipses. They don't feel as intense as what we have experienced, but we'll see how we go. And at the new moon, this new moon in Virgo, this does initiate, kind of like opens the gate for this eclipse cycle. So you may start to notice some of the themes emerging, but I'll go into that more at the next monthly astrology snapshot. But for now, just know that this bigger dynamics at play. Trust in the process. It needs to happen. We need to go through this shift. It's undeniable. But work with the new moon coming up in Virgo. It's a beautiful time because remember, Mercury will just be about to turn direct. It's a beautiful moment to gather yourself up, to reflect on what has been transpiring with the retrogrades at a personal level and recognize what wisdom has emerged. And then from there, set some new intentions. Be conscious, be intentional with your life. Really be intentional with the direction, with the things that you can control. I mean, we can't control the outer world, but we can control our personal realities, and we can control the way we perceive reality. So this new moon being in Virgo, Mercury turning direct in Virgo on the 14th, 15th of September, there's potentially this focus on what it is to live in harmony with the earth, with what is sacred. Virgo is associated or represented by the archetype of the priest, priestess, the one who calls us back to ceremony, to the cycles. Virgo is associated with the harvest, the timing of life and earth, and the way that we relate to nature, how we are actually not separate. This new moon in Virgo, as we've come out of these retrogrades and we're making more sense at a personal level, it is a beautiful time to come back to work with, even with purification is also very strongly connected with Virgo, and to really realign yourself with what is in harmony with life. The North Node is in Aries right now. And if you keep tuning into the future, tuning into the evolutionary pattern of Aries, which is the individuation, the will of you, your right to a great life, your desire, Aries, to actually express what is within you, to lead, to pioneer something in your reality. You can really tune into that and open yourself, and then set some beautiful new intentions at this new moon with this driving force of aligning yourself with the universal progressive evolutionary patterns. That is the harmony of Earth, and that is what Virgo wants you to remember. So really tune in, accept that the world is transforming, accept these retrograde patterns of the outer planets, and trust that it's divine, that it's helping us to shake to the core, shake the foundations, challenge these ways of living on Earth that are truly unsustainable. Again, Uranus is approximately halfway through a roughly 7-year cycle in Taurus, disrupting, awakening, shaking up to revolutionize our relationship to Taurus, the resources, earth, finances, sustainability, food, the quality of our human life, what we value. So then we go to the full moon in Aries, and this could be an even more profound time where you might just feel, you know what, I am just so ready for change. I am done with these crazy stories, and you might feel that deep in a personal way. Again, as I said, the North Node of the collective destiny in the sign of the individual will be activated at this full moon in Aries. So this is a time to really face your fears, awaken your courage. And if you're having a strong experience of, I am just done with people talking about change, that is just glossing over, greenwashing, just with no depth to it. I am tired of it. Then don't be surprised. But look within and see where you align to yourself, where you are done with your own personal deception. This is the energy of the pioneers, Aries, initiating, leading something new, and just not even looking back, just going for it. And at the full moon coming up in Aries, you may find that there's this really powerful feeling of letting go, remember, these bigger retrogrades are happening. What is it that you've taken on from the collective that you know needs to be released, reset, that is feeding into internal lies? There is something about this full moon that has this capacity for you to awaken to your inner courage, to your inner warrior, and to awaken more faith, to not give up this lunar month, to know that you can keep evolving no matter what's going on out there. Even when it's scary, this full moon can really stir within you a sense of agency, a sense of, I am tired of being scared or fearing the worst, and I'm going to clear that. I'm going to let go and I'm going to awaken to my warrior. There are so many beautiful cycles at play, as I've shared, and they're very strong this lunar month for you to watch what's going on in the external, let it play out, and to dial in and to awaken the courage to pioneer something new for you. Work with the lunar phases this month and know that this, dynamic of outer planets, retrograde, inner direct, it will shift. It's really interesting at the new moon. That's when Mercury turns direct, and just before the next new moon, which will be that solar eclipse in Libra, Pluto will turn direct in Capricorn. So this is a very powerful window of take the space, really, really activate something within you, awaken your courage, your faith, your warrior. Do not give up. This is not the end of the human species. It's only the end of a version of the way we've structured it, of these old institutions of power, of these old hierarchical, vertical, top-down patriarchal systems. They are unsustainable. It's not about gender. It's not about race. It's about a way that we see and interpret reality and what we think as a species is going to support us. And when Pluto moves direct, that at this eclipse, there will be a shift in the patterns, and it's going to be this time where we might start seeing, hopefully, the outer, the collective, the social patterns may start to get some traction, especially as we get into next year to 2024. By 27th of January next year, Uranus will be direct and all of those outer planets will be direct. So Jupiter turns direct on New Year's Eve. Saturn turns direct November 4 this year. Uranus January 27, Neptune November 6. Interesting, they both turn, Saturn and Neptune turn direct in Pisces. It's almost like that's going to feel in November, early November. It will feel that's the month after the eclipses. There's this feeling of, oh wow, that's the deception, they're the distortions. Let's make some progress. And then Capricorn will turn direct, as I shared already, at this new moon. So I'm just having next month. So by January of 2024, we'll have all of those transpersonal outer planets in direct motion. And I think that's when we will start to see this potential for progress, like actually things happening. As I shared in my 2023 forecast, this is a year for increasing your capacity for change, because it's changing no matter what. And to increase your capacity for evolution, to open yourself, to not be stuck. Anyone trying to stay the same, they will suffer. This is it. We are not going back. And by January next year, I feel we will start to see actually things happening. This year was about, I got the sense we would get glimpses of what's possible, We've had some really big technological advancements, more information about climate change. We're getting glimpses. I think next year we'll start seeing some traction, but I will be doing another yearly forecast. If anyone's interested, subscribe to my newsletter or join my Patreon, because that's where you will get it. It's free. It's an ebook I do every year for free. Okay, so I'd love to hear what you're experiencing. If you want to work in ritual, check out my Patreon, Soulful Guiding at Patreon. Check out my Instagram, where I do updates and another way of looking at each new moon and full moon especially. But take care, embrace the change, embrace this lunar month to make changes in your personal life. Tune into the future, ride those energies, align yourself with the new moon, with the universal evolutionary timelines. They're there, they exist. Get out of the fear and open your heart and accept that we're in this greater process. So have a beautiful lunar month, and I'll see you for the next monthly astrology snapshot, which will be eclipses. If you want sessions, you feel it building, I love working with people during eclipses. Check out my Patreon. All right, take care, everyone.